Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Chris.
Back from the negative zone.
We've got Vince.
I am become death.
Great, and I'm Kia. Hello, welcome to the show. Today we are talking about one of my favorite. Well, I don't know. We've been talking a lot about Jim Starlin throughout the course of this series. We've talked a lot about his Infinity War stuff. I guess he is one of my favorites now. Jim Starlin, yeah. We've been having a good time, and for whatever reason, I really wanted to read The Death of Captain Marvel, which was a little thing he wrote in 1982. I'd never read it before. Chris, you said you'd read it, right?
A long time ago. I think I'd read it. It was like a Barnes & Noble read,
Yeah.
Borders bookstore.
Right. Vince, you'd never read it?
I had never read it, but I had heard about it, but I thought it was actually The Death of Captain America. So I was confused.
Interesting. So I guess there's something else we kind of have to talk about before we get to this. This was 1982. Marvel started releasing a series of graphic novels. This is before that term kind of became more common. This is, people called them comic books. Like, no, this was going to be our first graphic novel. So it was like a big old series, and this was Marvel graphic novel number 1. And it's, 80 pages, something like that. Its own special little thing. And sort of meant to be a little bit more serious. Like, this is comic books for grown-ups, so we're calling them graphic novels now.
Well, they like poached some people from Scholastic to help them publish real books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oof, crazy. How did they go about doing things like this? Amazing.
Right. And this is after in the 70s, they had tried with like a magazine format where they would have like a 40-page like Dracula Hulk type story where it would be black and white and it'd be a little gorier or whatever. But the magazine industry not doing so great even in 1982, and so they're moving on to graphic novels.
Mm-hmm.
So is that a format like Mad Magazine would be, or Cracked, Chris?
Yeah, that's more like what they were doing in the 70s. They had, I think it was like Savage Hulk or something like that. They had a regular Hulk comic. And then they had a second, like, magazine format Hulk comic that was like 50 pages and like glossy, and more like Cracked, which I think they also didn't they publish Crazy? They published one of those.
I haven't read any of their magazine style stuff. Maybe that would be a fun one to do one for a later episode when the magazine industry just goes bankrupt. That'll be fun. But Jim Starlin was he decided to continue his outer space stuff with The Death of Captain Marvel, which was their very first of these graphic novels. And if I'm not mistaken, there had been no lead up to Captain Marvel's going to die. It's just sort of like one and done. Like, hey, we're introducing the death of him, and this is going to be it.
Yeah. Basically his comic had been canceled about a year and a half earlier, and Captain Marvel, for those that don't know, he's a Kree alien character, comes to Earth, resolves a Marvel trademark on that name.
Oh yeah, that's
it's because DC had bought Fawcett Comics, who had Captain Marvel, aka Shazam. Yeah. But then they somehow let the name lapse, the trademark name, and Marvel's like, fuck shit, ladies, like we've got the name Marvel, let's produce a comic called Captain Marvel. So it just kept on constantly failing, and they retooled Captain Marvel several times. He started off as a Gene Colan and Stan Lee creation in '67, but then was kind of lame, and even Gene Colan's like, this guy sucks.
The artist of Daredevil is like not good enough for me.
And so then Roy Thomas revamped him to be more Kree and have his kind of coloring. And then Starlin took him over in '73. So I didn't realize that Starlin had been writing this guy for a decade,
about 10 years. It's also important to know if there's a lot of movie news right now surrounding Captain Marvel, and how currently in the comics it's Carol Danvers. I think Brie Larson is going to be playing her in the movie.
Academy Award-winning actress Brie Larson.
She's going to be the current Captain Marvel, where this is the old Captain Marvel before that. Although I think this guy's going to be portrayed in the movie somehow as well. I think I just saw somewhere that Jude Law's going to be playing him.
I could be wrong. I don't know. Yeah. He's a Kree like Yondu, Mary Poppins y'all.
Oh yeah, Yondu, Mary Poppins y'all. That guy's great.
Yep. Or
And
Ronan. Ronan is also a Kree.
Yeah,
there's a villain of Guardians who no one remembers.
Yeah.
How dare you accuse him of being nobody remembered him?
This season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. also, they're in space and they're completely dealing with the Kree all season long. So there's a lot of them on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this season, if you're watching that.
Say so.
No, I think that show has only gone up and up and up. It's been really, really great since last season up to this season.
You could tell me anything was happening on that show and I would believe you.
There's some insane shit happening. They're doing time travel stuff now too.
Whoa.
I love that.
Can we review that X-Men 5-part episode where Bishop gets lost in limbo and Apocalypse kidnaps everyone and then tries to conquer time?
We should have a time travel special at some point. We haven't done many time travel stories in this. Maybe soon. Let's put a pin in that.
I'll put that on the list.
Maybe it will be some Bishop stuff. So, anyways, we need to get into this story, but yeah, this whole part of it is Captain Marvel sitting there, kind of writing down his memoirs, recapping all this stuff, just so people know who Captain Marvel is. Yeah, he came with the Kree. They were part of they were going to take over the Earth, and he says, "Why, you guys? I don't like that." So he starts protecting the Earth. Falls in love with some other lady on his crew, and then the evil bad guy general who's in the charge. No, you're dead. And Captain Marvel's sad, but he stays on Earth and keeps protecting it. Eon gives him cosmic awareness. Is Eon a living planet Ego?
Was it Eon?
No,
Eon looked like Ego. The picture of him.
Eon is just a cosmic being that gave him powers, and then later gave Kazar, or however you say that. Quasar
kind of guy?
Quasar is not Quasar.
Quasar,
yeah.
Gave him similar powers later.
There's a lot of weird names. Quasar and Kazar are very similar, but they are different people. Kazar is Tarzan-like, Quasar is space-like. Cool.
Not to be confused with the Space Knight.
Oh my god, yeah.
That would be Rom.
Who is the friend of Rick Jones.
All right, we got to stop confusing everyone. So this guy gives him cosmic awareness. That's his power. He can kind of see everything, and he's super strong. All that kind of stuff. And he kind of talks about how, I've been hanging out all over the universe now. I went to Titan, that moon, and I hung out with Mentor and his son
Eros.
Eros, yeah, Eros.
That's what erotica comes from.
Yeah. I also had to fight his other son, Thanos. Oof.
The Star Fox himself.
Oh yeah, Star Fox.
Is Eros his name? Star Fox? Is that the same one?
Yeah, that's his sort of code name. Yeah, Star Fox.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When he joins the Avengers, he calls himself Star Fox, which is really creepy.
It is a weird name, yeah.
But I did some extra reading. So there's another Mar-Vell. Don't get confused, 90s fans, with Genus Vell, who is the son of Mar-Vell and the girl Alicia. But she told him that Star Fox was his dad, not Mar-Vell.
Yes. Yeah. Stay tuned for the end of the story, and you might see some hints as to how.
We'll talk even more about how there have been a lot of Captain Marvels throughout the years. You really just need to know two of them: this guy who dies and Carol Danvers, who is current. But other than that, there have been a lot of Captain Marvels.
I like them all. I will go on record.
I actually kind of like a lot of the ones that I've read as well. I haven't read all of them, but the ones I have read, I really enjoyed.
I like African American Captain Marvel. I like Genus. They're all good.
Yeah. Anyways, we're getting off topic. This guy, he's hanging out on Titan, talking with Mentor and Eros, and at this point, Thanos is dead. Did we read how he dies? Here?
We have not. We're gonna have to do that. No,
we read his return later.
It's there's an Avengers annual and a Marvel 2-in-1, which is the Thing team up book annual, which is how they killed Thanos off in, I think, 1977 or 78. And so for 12 years, he was dead.
That's kind of amazing.
The entire 80s, no Thanos.
I really thought this is where he was going to come back, to jump ahead.
Well, no, but we read his return of Thanos, way back, the first Thanos
Silver
stuff
Surfer, yeah.
That's right. I have no idea where the timeline of these... We've read all of these completely out of order.
This is before a lot of the stuff that we read.
The Warlock stuff and...
It's after the original Warlock.
Warlock stuff, yeah. This is
after
Warlock
is also dead.
Warlock's dead, yeah. So don't worry. Most of that's not important. Just know that this is in general before a lot of important stuff happened, but after a lot of it was established.
But I mean,
Cool.
This is the first time. Like, I don't know if it was just a really good introduction to like. I've never read a Captain Marvel book in my life, especially this one.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I got this character, and even now, I'm like, I've made fun of like several times when we see like Mentor and Eros, and I'm like, hey, old friends, I'm happy to see you.
Oh yeah, they do. Mentor is the worst name for an old dude.
But I'm happy to see them after like.
I am happy to see them too. We've seen them a lot.
Right.
I do feel like at this point, Jim Starlin's the only person who uses them. Sorry, go ahead.
Mind, Jim Starlin created these characters in like 1967 or whatever. So like Wikipedia didn't exist.
Yeah.
This was like when you were like, oh, I'm going to use Jungian psychology. This was not like a hack thing to do, or at least not as hack.
That's true. So they're on this ship hanging out, and these people attack them. Who are these people? I don't know.
They're just Thanos' like running crew because he had a space station. So apparently these are just like the low-level crew members that he employed.
Okay. And they're like, we're going to get you. And, they win, of course. They manage to beat everyone up. But Captain Marvel is, like, kind of beat afterwards. Like, he's not, like, really as strong as he is. And I'm like, hey, dude, what's going on? And he says, I've got some bad news for y'all.
Yeah, he has, like, a coughing fit like Don Draper when he starts swimming.
He's having this coughing fit. He's not doing well at all. And he tells them, listen, I've got cancer. Oh, holy shit. Captain Marvel has cancer. And they kind of talk about, like, oh, yeah, this exists in every race. We call it the black end in ours. It's like the inner decay in another, that kind of thing. And apparently, like, it's during some adventure, he'd inhaled some gas that was having a bad effect on him, and he's got. Okay, we got to talk about Captain Marvel's bands, his like golden bands that they sort of keep him safe from harm. They like cleanse his body, they cleanse his system, and so I guess they've been holding off the disease, but even they haven't been able to sort of stop this slow, inevitable death. And he's like, "Yeah, it's coming. I think I'm gonna die, y'all."
Right. Back in the day when he would bang his bands together, he would swap bodies with Rick Jones. It was a very Shazam-related power to have.
It was very similar to Shazam. That's kind of I never really realized that until now, but you're right.
But what happened? Did they swap places in the negative zone? Is that what they do?
Yeah, they would literally swap places. Yeah.
Yeah, one of them would take over on Earth, and then one of them would be in the negative zone. So there's a classic storyline that Marvel: The Untold Story talks about, where they never say it, but Rick Jones takes LSD and then goes to the negative zone.
Nice.
Oh, that's funny.
Do we have an episode on 420 this year?
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun.
So it's a classic episode of like, oh, I'm expanding my consciousness, everyone.
So he's talking to
Rick Jones. I want to just stop with Rick Jones. So at this timeline, Rick Jones has been the Hulk's sidekick and Captain America's sidekick, and now he's Captain Marvel's sidekick.
Not now. He was at one point. This was I think at this point he's just playing guitar on these days.
Okay, because he's just some random dude that just happened to be at the same base when like the Hulk got irradiated, and then
he gets like very involved in the whole thing. But he also like he's very he makes these decisions for himself. What's the word I'm trying to say? He's not a passive dude. He's very active. That's the word I'm looking for. He's active. He starts off this like radio team to help the Avengers like relay information back and forth. Like Rick Jones is a pretty good guy.
Yeah, literally like the first couple of issues of Avengers, Rick Jones is basically he's like their not Robin, I would say more like Snapper Carr, which is a very deep cut.
Yeah, that is a deep cut. Yeah. Whoa, Rick Jones. Okay, Snapper Carr. Now I get your reference.
But he's like their mascot of the Avengers.
Kind of, yeah. It's kind of adorable.
Yeah, and then he becomes sort of Captain Marvel's sort of sidekick, sort of alter ego. But now he's none of those things. The 80s, we'll see him sort of get phased out until Peter David remembers him in his Hulk run.
Yeah. I also really like what he did fairly recently in comic book history, where he was kind of this Edward Snowden whistleblower hacker type guy. I quite enjoyed that. Anyways.
He's had a very interesting life. He had a talk
show. He really
show
has. Rick Jones is one of the more interesting characters that you could do a deep dive on Rick Jones. And
I bet his Wikipedia is crazy.
Yeah. Anyways, so he's talking to Captain Marvel's talking to Mentor, like, oh, what can I do? All that sort of stuff. I can't go to the Kree because I'm a traitor, so I can't use any of their scientists.
Well, and also the Kree is like, he's like, the Kree, like your Earthlings, are so much more concerned about war than curing their own diseases.
Yeah, right.
Dig in America. Ooh. Very topical.
Ooh. Yeah.
For 36 years ago.
Reagan era America.
And then they're like, oh, hey, by the way, have you told your girlfriend? Have you told Elysius? Is that his girlfriend, his wife? What?
His baby mama.
Well, hey, he doesn't know that. He doesn't know she's pregnant.
Oh, no. Oh, poor thing. But he has not told her yet. So there's a nice a wordless scene of him just like approaching her in the garden, and they talk and they embrace. It's a very nice, sweet scene.
It's a nice scene, but at the same time, I do wish Jim Starlin had like some female editor or someone to be like, hey, does Elysius have to be like presenting in every scene when she hears that her boyfriend is dying of cancer?
Oh, yeah, that is kind of like it is a little...
she's drawn very sexily.
Gratuitous. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like thrusting out every scene. I'm like, this is a little uncomfortable. Like, she's not just sitting there. She's like presenting.
She's like legs spread open, just like waiting on a bench for, yeah. Anyways, you're right. There's not a very strong female presence in this book in general. I think Moondragon shows up later, and that's about it.
Elysius is an interesting enough character, although she's a big Barter ripoff. So that's another Jack Kirby stolen character from Jim Starlin. But I think she's an okay character, but it's just like she needs to tone it down. And there's a couple of characters later during the splash pages we'll get to later where it's like, okay, we need somebody to like, make this a little less. I know this is not an all ages comic. Adults are supposed to read this, but that doesn't mean we have to like draw nipples on everyone.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, yeah, it's not. Yeah. So after that scene, we get more recap from Captain Marvel. He's talking more about his adventures on Earth, and he starts talking about the Avengers and hanging out with them. And he talks a little bit more about all that Rick Jones stuff that we were talking about. And that's a nice segue to him going to actually talk to Rick Jones and to let him know. He's like, yeah, I should probably, we did kind of share a body for a while. He should probably know that I have cancer.
Because he's also worried Rick Jones might have cancer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Vince, what did you say?
Yeah, he needs to get tested.
Yeah, oh yeah, you should get tested for sure. But yeah, Rick Jones just playing guitar on some roof, and Captain Marvel's there, and Rick Jones like really lashes out at him here. I was like kind of surprised to see that. It does at this point really start to turn into this comic about how do our friends and our loved ones react when this news about something like this might come up. And I think for me, this is when it started to turn into like a serious comic more than anything, because there's way less recap here, and it just really starts turning into him reaching out to people and seeing their different types of reactions. And yeah, Rick Jones is very angry about it, refuses to accept it, says, oh, you're not working hard enough, that kind of thing. And they have this big fight, and Rick kind of runs off.
Right. I really like it because Captain Marvel is, I think, a pretty bland character. And so for him to go to his girlfriend and be like, Rick was really rude to me. Mm-hmm. And then for her to be like, yeah, but did you think about the fact that, like, he's dealing with the fact that you're dying and that everyone he's ever cared about has died? And he's like, oh, I understand. Empathy.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this that scene, and all the aftermath afterwards. And then Rick Jones runs to the Avengers. He says, "Hey, y'all, cure cancer." And they say, "Well, we are all like the best scientists in the world, but we have been spending all our time fighting. I don't have an excuse for why we haven't cured cancer yet.
I do like that scene because it's like every hero has their own reason where it's like, well, I have a good Tony Stark's like, look, I'm really busy, but at the same time, part of him is like, I probably could have cured cancer.
Yeah, it's fine. And so they actually do start trying to cure cancer. And throughout this, the rest of the book, they have like a few different, like almost near successes. But the problem is his golden bands. They keep his body pure, and so any type of medicine they try and put in gets rejected as well. So
that doesn't mean they can't do it for everybody else who has cancer.
That's true.
It's true,
but they're only working on him. So
yeah, he's got Kree physiology.
Yeah, he's different from a human. That's why.
Yeah. Only if Ms. Marvel or Captain Marvel, whatever you want to call her, if she got cancer now in 2018, now they'd be like, well, yeah, we know how to cure it.
Yeah. That is kind of, maybe they should have picked up that thread after this. Nobody wrote a sequel to this where they do decide to cure cancer?
No, fucking Iceman doesn't go and freeze the polar ice caps. Like, I think it becomes problematic when you start bringing in, like, real-world stuff into these fictional universes. Like, it shows the seams of, like, well, you can't cure cancer in the Marvel universe because 30 years from now, like, that's going to be a problem. It's just going to make the world too otherworldly. Like, they can't change the status quo of the real world too much.
They could do it for a little bit and then just, like, bring cancer back in a retcon. Like they got rid of Thanos and they brought him back later.
Oh, cancer got more vicious, like antibacterial.
Man.
Oh no, God,
like
antibacterial
terrible. Creating a super cancer and super cancer behavior.
Imagine how big Cancer Man's head would be.
Oh, can you imagine Cancer on Infinite Earths where they all like band together and oh boy, is this insensitive? I don't know. I can't tell. Anyways,
it feels like I don't like when I like the concept of this and I like the tragicness of the idea of this guy who does all these great things and the thing that fucking beats him is just cancer. Like I think that's really interesting and poetic. I think in the realm of why didn't y'all cure cancer, it gets a little weirdly heavy-handed and just doesn't click for me. In the same way, like Spider-Man, like, no, we're supposed to die by like bombs and bullets. Like, how is he dying of cancer? I'm just like, Spider-Man, like, you seem a little bit broken up considering like everybody in your life has died. Like, why are you, like, why is this one getting to you? Like,
yeah, he's very choked up. It's very upsetting to him.
Yeah, that did make me sad when Spider-Man gets choked up about it. But it also, let's get to it. So, all the top scientists, including Doctor Strange for some reason,
I don't know, and Thor, but like not as in Doctor form. It's just like Thor being Thor is working on this. They're all working on it.
In case there's like a magical cure for cancer, I mean, he's a surgeon. What's he gonna do?
Look, you need everyone, all hands on deck.
But yeah, so all the heroes, which is it's sort of, and it's not fair because the Sentry didn't exist at the time. I think the Sentry is pretty crappy, and I don't like him.
I love the Sentry.
But it's very Sentry-like the way all the heroes are like, he was my best friend, you guys. All of a sudden, all the heroes, including the X-Men, who at the time like are, this mysterious anti-heroes who fight like basically everyone except Spider-Man whenever they meet them. Everyone is going to the moon of Titan to pay their respects to Captain Marvel.
Look, I believe it. I've read this issue and nothing else from Captain Marvel around this time period, and so as far as I'm concerned, they are his best friends. Sorry, Chris. This issue outvotes you.
Even Iron Fist and Luke Cage, who are in the background, it's like, what are they doing here?
There are a lot, like everyone managed to come up to space, which I am wondering about the logistics of this. Like, did they like just form a caravan? Like, all right, if you want to come say goodbye to Captain Marvel, just get on. We'll all go together. So I think a lot of these people, I don't think they were here to say goodbye to Captain Marvel. I think they just wanted to go to space. And they're like, oh yeah, I knew that guy. Take me up to space for a while.
I would do that.
This would be fun.
I would do that.
I would do that too. I would do that. Yeah. So I don't blame.
But it's just like, I don't know. I've missed funerals for extended family because I was busy. I feel really bad, and now like.
Would you miss a chance to go to space?
That's the thing.
I guess those funerals weren't in space.
Kia's headcanon makes more sense because like like, I'm not best friends with Captain Marvel, and if I show up, then it's gonna be like a thing, and then people are gonna ask me, and I get like real anxious. Like, I didn't know him that well. Like, I don't want to make this funeral about me being in the background. And like, if you're like, well, shit, you get to go to space. Like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm gonna go to space.
Yeah.
And Luke Cage and Iron Fist are not talking to anybody. They're clearly just like chilling in space.
I want to write that issue of Luke Cage and Iron Fist up in the back there, just like we're in space, dude. How cool is this?
Yeah. And this is the splash page where I was like, we needed some sort of female editor because both Tigra and Hellcat, who are FYI, Tigra was the original Hellcat, so
I thought she was just the cat.
she was the cat. That's true.
So,
But-
Patsy Walker's not the original Hellcat?
No, well, she's the original Hellcat, but Tigra was the cat in the 1970s.
Oh, okay.
It was a slightly different cat thing,
Yeah.
but yeah.
And then she became Tigra, and then Patsy Walker, who was in basically like Millie the Model romance comics.
Yeah, those were all real.
She became a superhero. Both of them are just like all the way out there. Like it's,
Yeah, they definitely have nips drawn on.
Yeah, it's
Hellcat
like,
definitely
whoa.
does. There's a girl also in pink that's they got some
Yeah,
movies showing.
Yeah, that's the Wasp,
Yeah.
and that's like,
That's the Wasp?
yeah, because she's holding hands with a Yellow Jacket.
Like, that is. There's, like, her outfit just has the belly button just cut out, like, very randomly. It's so strange.
Yeah,
I would not, if I was just like chilling like this, like my friend was dying, I would not get in costume.
Yeah, this is a funeral. Don't, like, cover your belly button. Come on.
I like I'm not too much spoilers for Star Wars, but Luke Skywalker wears sweatpants in that movie. He wears sweatpants.
That sounds great.
He's
can't
like, I'm
wait.
on this
I think
island.
we're
I'm wearing sweatpants, guys. Come on, in a hoodie.
yeah. Spider-Woman 2. We also see Spider-Woman's nipples. Don't worry, everyone. Why is Spider-Woman here? Who cares?
To be
She
fair,
wanted to go to space.
To be fair, Iron Man also has nipples in an earlier page, Chris. When you pointed that out, I started looking for everybody's nipples. Iron Man has some high nipples on his Iron Man
True.
suit. So
It's true, but just because they're there for everyone doesn't mean it's okay.
They need to be
I
there.
guess. I mean,
Joel
you can see
Schumacher
the Hulk.
called.
You can see the Hulk's nipples too, but that's
I don't
normal.
know. I think we need more nipples. I'm flipping through. I'm a little disappointed. I'm looking for Beast's nipples right now. And
I read that Silver Surfer is there, but apparently at the time Silver Surfer wasn't allowed to leave Earth, so that's actually like a clone or like somebody posing. Like,
Interesting.
it's dumb.
It's actually
I want,
more.
I really want to like string together every comic that has a gigantic group appearance of everyone has to have some crazy fun stories like this of like getting everyone together, organizing it, and just the people who weren't really there and sent doubles. Like that's fun to me. Also, the people who just wanted
Is
to go.
Ghost Rider there?
What?
Yeah,
He's right above
member
the Hulk.
member of the Champions, Ghost Rider.
It's so weird.
Ghost Rider's there. Ghost Rider's there, and Hulk is not in Doctor form.
No, Clea, Doctor Strange's sidekick. I mean, everybody's here.
Mm-hmm. Everybody, all the greats. Who is that little
Gargoyle?
orange guy? Is that Gargoyle down front?
Yeah.
The little orange guy?
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard of him.
he's a
I don't-
defender.
Okay. I need to read more Defenders. We'll talk more.
And
About
Daredevil
that.
went to space.
Why not?
It's in between Bustin' Turk and
He heard Black Widow was going to space, and he's like, "I'm going to space too."
Wait, I think we need to move away from this.
This
we can talk
raises
all
more
day about
questions
this.
than anything.
Yeah, this whole page raises more questions than anything. I get while we're on the topic of big splash pages, there is a page slightly before this where he's talking about all his adventures that has all of his villains in there. I don't know most of these people, but I love the artwork on this page of just showing all these crazy. Like, there's a guy melting in the floor down there.
That's Nitro. I know him.
There's a bunch of really badass.
Nitro's the
people.
one that gave him cancer.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, he blew up Connecticut. He started the Civil War.
Like in the past?
In Marvel Civil War, that guy.
Oh, in Stamford.
That Nitro. Yeah.
Home of the Dunder Mifflin branch. It's no longer there.
So anyways, these heroes are all there paying their respects. They have some of their individual moments with them. There's that moment with Spider-Man getting all choked up, which did, again, it made me feel like, oh man, these heroes are getting sad. And Spidey is the one I relate to the most, and so because I'm a young kid reading comic books and I love Spider-Man, and oh my god, he's sad, so I'm even sadder now. Oh my god, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And
I agree. I was like, oh, poor Spider-Man.
yeah. Beast is, talking to him like, yeah, this is just how things go. We got to deal with it, all that.
Right. Beast is also super off model. I know I love Jim Starlin's art, but his drawing of the Beast, it's like,
it's very
I don't even
weird.
know what this is.
He looks like the kid from the Munsters, the little vampire-looking kid.
Yeah, but he's blue, so you know it's Beast.
He's yeah, so you know it's Beast. Rick Jones comes in and he's like, "Oh, Rick, I'm sorry, I lashed out." And they kind of make up, and then Drax comes in with his old purple cape and everything. I love this version of Drax with Moondragon, who is his daughter. That's right. Which this comic doesn't mention. If I didn't know that, I wouldn't have learned it. That doesn't matter. And they're like, "Hey, we brought someone else," and it's this Skrull general. The Skrull,
shit!
Yeah, they're like a race of shapeshifters, like eternally at war with the Kree. And this big general comes in and is like, "Hey, Captain Marvel, like we fucking hate you. You are constantly ruining our plans." But that's because you're just fucking amazing, and we're a warlike race, so we can respect that. So here's a Medal of Honor, a Medal of Valor from the Skrulls to you, and pretty nice.
I hate you, but god damn it, do I respect you?
Exactly.
Yeah. Rick Jones, who by the way is dressed like Peter Parker from the Spider-Man cartoon.
He is, yeah.
He's like, it's not fair. Like, your enemies all respect you, but the people you worked for don't even care about you.
But he's been a traitor to the Kree for longer. So, like, the Skrulls still don't like Captain Marvel, even though he has betrayed their mortal enemy. Does he still he still gets into scrapes with the Skrulls?
I guess he still fights the Skrulls in Captain Marvel monthly comic, which I have to admit I've never read.
Yeah, I mean the Skrulls are evil, so I have to imagine Captain Marvel would have, fought him.
Fought them.
I wish the Super Skrull, who we talked about during the Annihilation episode, I wish he had showed up just to be like, "Damn it, I respect you."
Mm-hmm.
That would have been fun, yeah. So
and then it would be fun to see what the Fantastic Four would do when Super Skrull was there. Because they're there.
That would be fun. I do like the Thing is like he's like telling about their adventures that they've had when Spider-Man gets all choked up. And he's like, "What's his problem?" So I imagine if the Thing saw Super Skrull, he'd be like, "Why aren't we having a big fight?"
Yeah.
I do like that, like, Thing is there, and then other people come into the hospital room, and that's very much like accurate, like deathbed things. Like other people just show up while you're in conversation with somebody. I like that.
Yeah. Thing stays there for a while. I think Thing is like in the room more than most people. I could be wrong about that. Anyways, after that, poor Captain Marvel falls into a coma. Oof, yeah. And throughout this, he has been getting like weaker and like kind of wearing more comfortable clothing as opposed to his costume, and like you can visibly see it, and that hurts a little bit.
I kind of wish he had lost some of his hair, but I get it. His hair, by the way, is ridiculous. This is 1982. He's got that like feathered, like floppy, long blonde hair that was like huge in like the 70s. So even by 1982, it's a very dated look.
Yeah, that's why we had to kill him. That's why they had to kill him.
We had to kill him.
Yeah,
so we can either redesign his hair or kill him. Like,
the death of Captain Marvel's hairstyle. That would have been a good comic.
Did anybody think that maybe Captain America or Captain Marvel would pull it out, and this was just the idea of the death of Captain Marvel? Or
I wasn't quite sure, but just knowing history and all that of comics, I kind of knew it was going to end with his death, but I didn't know how exactly. And so I was kind of surprised to see this whole thing where after he falls into a coma.
Yeah, this part's really good, everybody.
It really is. Like, I recommend this a lot, where that statue of Thanos that they had up there, kind of Thanos' life spirit jumps back into it and comes back, and like he comes and visits Captain Marvel all alone in this room, and says, "Hey, you're a warrior. We're gonna have this big final fight to take you away to the afterlife." And Captain Marvel is magically in his costume again, and I have like classic Starlin fashion. I was worried this comic wasn't like trippy enough. Here's where all the trippiness comes in, like all the crazy like stuff moving, going into different dimensions, lots of fighting. It's good stuff. And then finally,
I like when Thanos basically summons all the Captain Marvel villains who have died. Mm-hmm. It's a good touch because it's like Captain Marvel, if he sat down and thought about it for like 2 seconds, he'd be like, wait a minute. But he doesn't put it together, which I think really makes it fun.
It does make it fun. And, Thanos was like, all right, are you prepared to, like, accept it and go down and, like, be done? And Captain Marvel was like, yeah, like, Lady Death is there with Thanos. He's like, yeah, I think I'm ready for it. I don't need this illusion anymore. And she kind of turns into the skeleton form. He gets the kiss of death, and you see it's a nice panel of his heart just, like, stop beating.
Right. Thanos calls it the heart of your universe, which is a very it's a very clever way of doing it, where the way he says it, you're like, oh, like it's really important, cosmic, whatever. But it's like, no, literally, like this is just your heart beating. You're seeing even as you're fighting these people. And so when he sees his heart stop, he's literally dying.
That's really cool.
And it is like there is that kind of question of like, okay, is this all just in his head, or is this some sort of a slightly metaphysical thing where this is really the real Thanos from the afterlife coming to get him? Or both, whatever. It doesn't necessarily matter because over in the real world, they just like, he's flatlined. They turn off the machine and they say he's gone, and that's it. That's the end. The back cover of this thing is like everybody just sort of standing over at the tombstone little monument over his grave, and it just kind of ends very quietly, which I was not expecting at all. Like it just kind of like, that's it, like it's over. I'm like, holy shit.
His light switched off. His light is switched off. Done.
Yeah, it's over. He's gone.
And it's really affecting. Like I think it really works.
It does. Yeah.
It's. And credit to Marvel, I don't have a lot of good things to say about Marvel, especially recently, but they've never gone back on this. Like they've faked it a couple of times. He's stayed dead, which is really, it's like, this is an important, I feel like, I don't think this is still in circulation, but I feel like you could put this out tomorrow and people would still buy this, and this is good stuff.
Yeah,
as far as like dealing with closure and stages of grief and all this, it's really good.
Yeah, it is. Like I think you're totally right. Like they had the return of Captain Marvel around Secret Invasion, but I think he ended up being a Skrull, right?
Yeah, like a shapeshifter or something.
That's the closest he's come. This particular Captain Marvel has come back to from the dead.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's crazy.
There have been a lot of other Captain Marvels who have been like either his son, his descendants. Well, is Genis? There was like a clone son of his at some point.
So Genus, or however you want to say it, is his son by Elysius, his girlfriend here, and then she lied about who the father was. So he thought the father was Star Fox, who we didn't mention much because he disappears kind of from the story.
Does, yeah.
But and so she has this kid and then basically artificially ages him into a teenager so he can have his own adventures in the 90s.
That's what it is. I see. I think that's the one I've read the most of, and it is fun because he ends up also getting the Nega bands, and he switches places with Rick Jones as well. Except it's in the Microverse, which is also fun. But that's the only one that I really remember. I know like his daughter was one at one point, or like a sister.
She was some kind of clone. That would be because Genus and then Phyla. That's the joke.
That's
daughter.
right. Yeah, that it's like yeah. Genus and Phyla. That's funny.
Is it?
It's cute. It's clever. This is before Wikipedia, remember? But like I don't have a whole lot else to say about this. It's just good. Read it.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, it's an interesting project. You know, this is the writer, artist, and inker is all Jim Starlin. At least he's the only credited inker. I don't know if somebody helped him because I don't know that he's known as an inker. There's just a colorist and a letterer, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. You know, this is literally, and he probably had more time than, you know, we think about like Jim Lee or someone like that who is unable to hit a 30-day deadline. He probably had like 3 or 4 months to do this, and there's still some missing backgrounds and some stuff like that. But I think mostly it's a conscious choice.
Yeah, he did. There's some really nice use of backgrounds as well when people are sort of like, when he's like says, no, I haven't told Elysius yet. Like, there's a great background of him just like, ooh, dude, you fucked up. You got to tell her. Like that kind of stuff. This is also a good time to talk about, well, I forgot to mention this up top, but Jim Starlin, like as of about a month ago or a few weeks ago, has just parted ways with Marvel over a lot of, he's had a lot of contract disputes about sort of like the use of Thanos and the whole Infinity storyline that he wrote, and feeling like he should have been getting more of a cut. But also not necessarily being treated very well in the comics. I know he's written some more Infinity stuff recently, and I think it's, I don't know.
I think a lot of it's creative, but
yeah. But he has officially parted ways with Marvel, which is, you know, we won't be getting any more Infinity stuff from him. We did get Infinity Finale out of him a little while recently, so maybe after we're done with all that Infinity War stuff, we'll get to that. But,
yeah, it looks like he wrote a few actual things in the Marvel original graphic novel line around Thanos.
He did.
What else did he write?
Just recently, like 3 different Thanos books, I think, is what I had read.
I think one of those Infinity Finales and stuff. Yeah. I didn't realize those were part of the same.
They're not technically numbered anymore. I don't think they're still doing
the numbering. Yeah.
This was number 1, and they numbered through about like 39, but then there were also graphic novels that they didn't number that were the same like format because these were oversized, and so it kind of gets kind of fuzzy. And they did that through I think 92, 95, somewhere around there. And but then they relaunched it with I remember Warren Ellis had like an Avengers Endless Wartime, was that what it was called? Original graphic novel, and that was kind of the relaunch of these like OGNs, and I think Starlin had done 3 of them, including probably.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll get to them at some point.
I haven't read those, but it's really interesting. I think Starlin, he has kind of limitations as an artist. We haven't talked about the art very much. Some of the characters I think are pretty off model. The Thing is off model. Beast is off model. Where it's like if you were doing monthly comics, Spider-Man's even a little off model. He's a little too buff.
He looks a little weird. Yeah, a little buff.
But I mean, I think it really works for what Starlin's good at. He's really good at. So you know.
Yeah, I want more Starlin in all my comics. Oh, that's Starlin.
That style of storytelling. Although there was the fight scene in the beginning of the story, I was like, this isn't good.
You're right. I was a little worried about this because at that point I was like, Starlin, come on, you better deliver. But yeah, that halfway point where things start getting real, that's when it's like, all right, this is the story you want to tell.
Yeah, it's a very to use a wrestling term, it's like a squash match. Like he has the fight with Thanos' goons, but it's like there's never any danger. Like it's literally just like Mentor and Captain Marvel just beating up like losers.
Yeah.
So it's like in wrestling when like Hulk Hogan comes out and then like the other guy doesn't have an entrance. So it's like, well, we know who's gonna win.
But yeah, good stuff. I think it sounds like we all recommend it pretty well. Yeah. Any last words to say on this matter?
Did this issue make anybody here cry?
No, I didn't cry. Sorry.
Just a robot.
Yeah, we're all just robots.
No, me neither.
Touch me.
Me neither, but I did feel really sad. And it's funny because like Spider-Man is barely in this comic, but when Spider-Man got emotional, I was like, oh, poor Spider-Man.
Yeah, it made me emotional. So, for our next comic, let's definitely do something happier. We're going to do Amazing Spider-Man number 400, which it says here. Oh, no. It says here is the death of Aunt May. Oh, shit.
I think that one will stick just like this one.
Yeah.
How quickly was that undone? Less than 10 years? Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know. Yeah. Poor Aunt May. She's led a long and tragic life where she's either dead or constantly dying. Anyways, we're going to read that. It's by J.M. DeMatteis and Mark Bagley. I don't think we really need to read anything around it to get some backstory. I don't know. We'll take a look. We might talk a little bit about what's going on around this time. It was like, beginning of Clone Saga, around that era.
Yep.
Sure, some of that stuff will come up.
The beginning of Clone Saga that was, what did we total out? It was like 160-something issues? I think this is in the first quarter of those.
Yeah. Which... we'll get to it when we get to it, but it makes me especially sad because Ben Reilly hasn't even had the time with her because he has been living as a clone and an outlaw.
Oh,
but that's life, man. That's tragic. Like he's come back, and her life is gone. But he was like writing her letters for like a full solid year, wasn't he?
Something like that.
She was corresponding with him. We'll get in this next episode.
We'll talk about it. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. Join us next time. Thank you, Vince.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chris.
So long.
Oh, jeez. Always with the clever. That wasn't very clever. That's all right. And I'm Kia. Thank you so much. I love you. I love you all.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. That's right. This is our first episode of the New Year, 2018. Thanks for listening. Thanks for spending your New Year listening to this and nothing but this. Have a good year, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
We made it, everyone. We made it to 2018.
We made it.